Hello, and welcome to That Girl Magic, the podcast where we explore the transformative power of wellness, self improvement, and magic. I am your host, Karinna Franco, and I'm thrilled to embark on this journey of discovery with you. How are y'all doing? I swear. Um, I am so happy, even though this is going to be a very bloody, interesting conversation. Pun definitely intended. Okay, so if you guys have checked out the title, we are definitely going to talk about menstruation, period, the moon blood. And we're going to talk about all kinds of things. We're going to talk about products that you can use, hygiene tips, all kinds of lovely things, and also the emotional, spiritual side of it. So, how about we hop into it? So, as we all know, as women or people with vaginas and uteruses, we have to deal, most likely, if you're healthy, and I hope so you are. If you're not, please go to your doctor. I am no doctor. I am here just being a girly, advising girlies and people with vaginas and uteruses. Okay? So here's the stuff. When you bleed, especially if you are healthy and you're bleeding every month, or even if you're irregular and at least you bleed, we go through multiple phases of the menstrual cycle or the moon blood cycle, or whatever name you like to give. So here's the thing. I can tell you from my personal own experience, I've had ups and downs with my own cycle. I was like most people around my age that at 11 years old, 12 years old, 13 years old, you get your period. And luckily, I had a mother that told me most of the things that I need to do, most of the things that I need to take care of for me to be able to have the best experience possible. Even still, it kind of terrified me, the idea that every single month I had to be concerned over this thing. And I find that when we're little and we don't really understand it well, there's a bit of a stigma associated with it. A lot of people hate their period. A lot of people have these negative self talks about their period. And then their wish is just to take the pill or put an implant to basically try to not have it all the time. And that can be very bad for you in the long run because the even with the pill, a lot of people are like, oh, but I get my period on the pill. You're technically getting a pause bleed, not particularly your period. You're getting a pause bleed because you're pausing your medication, but you're not really having your period because your period goes through cycles of your hormones, and those cycles is what gives you your period. And I actually have a really great book that I can advise you to read. I have read it myself. It's a really, really good book called Period Power by Maisie Hill. And this is a thick boy. This is definitely a thick boy. I'm looking at it right now. And this is definitely one of those books that teaches you about um, the menstrual cycle, how it works, all the hormones that goes into it, what they do to your body. It goes really, really deep into it. And it talks about the cycle and what they call the seasons of the cycle because you go basically through all the four seasons: spring, summer, autumn, and winter when you're in your cycle. And it's really interesting. Why I want to talk about this today is because I am currently on my first day of my cycle. And I want to tell you a little bit about my story and then we'll hop into the tips. So here's the thing. For me, I grew up with a mother that taught me everything. I went into school and I was judged. It was during this time where the boys would like grab your bag and throw out your pads and open it and stick it to their foreheads. You would question about if you should even wear a tampon because there was this whole conversation that tampons would take out your virginity and so on and so forth. Girls would mock each other instead of supporting each other, and there was this whole idea that it was disgusting, it was dirty, and so on and so forth. And even in today's society, we still see that happening In certain cultures, you see women being shunned from the kitchens and from doing tasks because they're seen as impure during that period of time. And then in other societies, girls are celebrated because it's their coming of their womanhood. So we have like polar opposites depending in which society and which culture you're in. But something really interesting for me is that my family was perfectly fine, but then the outside world had this very closed mentality about it. To this day, I hear stories of like teachers that wouldn't let you go to the bathroom when you could tell that like you had to change, and even jobs that like people feel so uneducated that you wonder if they even went to school at times. And I can tell it from experience because I've had men turn to me and say, "Oh, I don't know why you guys drag it out for 5 to 7 days when you can probably just push it all out in 1 hour." I'm like, no, we can't. And having to go into deep, like physiological, medical explanation on the spot. But that's fair. We'll pretend that those people don't exist and we keep it pushing in our own terms, right? So for me, I went through trying to control it with the pill. I then tried the implant on or the arm implant. And then after a while, probably around COVID, to end of COVID, I decided to just fully take it off and not use anything. And funny enough, I started it because I was irregular on my moon blood, but then I became fully regular to like the day. It's really interesting because I track it personally with my Samsung Health app. It's the app that I use for my whole health thing. It's the one that I prefer. Some people have different apps. Personally, for me, the Samsung Health app is more than enough. Some people may feel it differently. But for me, I find that I'm pretty much like within those like 3 to 4 days that it's supposed to show up, it does show up. It gives me like a bit of a warning. I also feel it in my emotions because some women do feel like their emotions changing, which is quite normal because your hormones are changing. Your hormone levels change throughout your cycle. There's moments where you're feeling super energetic. You feel like you can do everything, which is normally around the time they're about to ovulate and slightly after ovulation. You're feeling like you're on top of the world. Everything is great. Your sex drive is through the roof. I don't know if some girlies experience this, but like when I'm actually ovulating, I feel like I am just gushing, just fluids all the time. It's almost like embarrassing at some points where like I'm gushing a lot and I'm like, okay, I'm definitely like ovulating or about to ovulate because I'm just gushing and the libido is high, and a lot of women feel similar things. And also your mucus, basically the little, wet thing that comes out in between your legs, can indeed change textures. It can become kind of like eggy like, almost like egg yolk, egg whites actually. It can become like almost like a ball, almost like turning almost like chewing gum texture in your hand. Sometimes will be like super watery, like super slippery and watery. It feels almost like one of those like watery thick fat toners, like fat water toners that you put in your face. And other times it becomes like almost like sticky, almost like glue before it dries. And it's really interesting seeing that shift and change throughout your period. So now here I am. I haven't been on any sort of birth control or any sort of hormonal controlling medication. I would say for about a year and a half to 2 years. My period is super regular. Be aware, I am one person. There's multiple stories out there. And here's the tips, okay? Be aware, these are tips for you to be able to have a better experience, not for you to fix your experience. Because I feel like a lot of people come on these platforms and they're trying to teach people how to fix their periods, when in reality there's like deeper issues into it. And I come from an area where I like to create a balance in between the holistic natural side and also the medical side, because there's people that have endometriosis, PCOS. Those things will not go away with some holistic medicine, okay? Those are health issues that need to be accompanied by a doctor. So please, if you feel like your issues cannot go away by just a style change, a dietary change, and some releasing some of your stress through some sort of stress relieving activity or hobby, please do go to a doctor and get yourself checked. It is also very important, even for the holistic girlies, to go themselves get themselves checked, because you know cancers exist, issues can arise, and you should always get yourself your yearly checkup. Okay, going on to the tips. So let's start by the hygiene products available in the market. So everyone knows about pads and tampons. That's an obvious. A pad will go on your undies. Some have little wings that you can attach to your undies, and some others don't. Some are thicker, thinner. That's a pad. There's some night ones as well for the nighttime sleeps. Tampons also exist in different sizes, different absorbencies, and that's also something that you can use. Tampons, I personally don't tend to recommend to use it at night, for the simple fact that there's all sorts of issues that can arise. Um, and that's my personal opinion. Something else that you can use, which is more on the reusable side, is the period cup, a menstrual cup. So a menstrual cup is basically, if you want to imagine, almost like a wine glass shape, silicone cup that is reusable. I think they advise for you to like change yours about every 1 to 2 years. There's some that can go up to 3 years that you can keep them. You need to have some sort of an upkeep to disinfect it and remove all bacteria and store it the right way. But basically, the idea is that you fold it in, put it up your vagina, that will expand inside of you and kind of cup around the area of your, of your uterus, uh, like the bottom of your uterus, and basically will catch the blood. It does not absorb the blood, so it catches the blood, and then some people can keep it up to 12 hours. And then basically you just go to the toilet or go to the bath or whatever you feel comfortable, and you stick your fingers up your vagina, gently pull it out. And some people can pull it out so gently that they're actually able to see it inside of their menstrual cup, which is actually one of the ways that you can actually collect it and donate menstrual blood. Some places do accept menstrual blood of their um, because of the cells present in the blood, which is the same cells that are present in the umbilical cord. But I digress. Another form of reusable, which is an absorbent form, which is actually the one that I use, is period undies. So period undies sound exactly like that. Instead of using your regular undies, you will pop these bad boys in. You will use it until you feel like they're full, which is normally about 4 to 8 tampons, depending on the brand, size, and fit that you get. And after they're full, you just take them off. You pop in a new pair of undies and you wear those until they fill, and rinse and repeat. Once you're done using those undies, you can do one of two things. If you have enough pairs like I do, you basically just keep putting them in a separate baggie from the rest of your clothes. And then once you're done after the 5 to 7 days, you just stick them in the washer by themselves and you wash them in the machine. Some brands you need to hand wash it, some brands you can just put in the machine. I put mine in the machine and mine can go in the machine. And what I do is that I just have a separate baggie. I put everything inside of the bag. It is a bag that is sealed. And then once I am done, I just do one session of the machine, pop it in, and wash them and, dry them in the drying rack. The cool thing about period undies is that sometimes that can be a more comfortable experience for people, because it's just like wearing regular undies. The period cup can also be quite comfortable because a lot of people don't need to switch as often, because the downfall of tampons and pads is that they can fill up really fast for people that have a stronger flow. Even if you go for the stronger flow options, it can really run out fast. I can tell you from experience, when I used to wear pads and tampons, I felt like every hour to hour and a half I had to switch it. Meanwhile, with the period undies, I find that, for example, one pair, even on like a heavy day, like second and third day for me, they can last me up to like 4 to 6 hours. Um, and that to me is a lot gentler, because that means that I can get out of the house, go to work, come back, and I'm not going to be leaking. I'm going to be perfectly fine, and I'll feel dry, and then I'll switch to another pair at night. Same thing with the period cup for a lot of people. They just pop it in and it can stay up there up to 12 hours, which pretty much means that you can like wake up, take a shower, take it off, wash it, put it back in, do whatever you need to do throughout the day. Come back home, you could take another shower or go on the toilet and then pop it off, wash it and pop it back in and just go to sleep and everything's fine. Of course, everyone's different. Everyone has different heaviness of their cycles and different lengths of their cycles. So experiment, find what works for you, and also try different brands as well. Um, Let me think. And I think that's all in terms of um menstrual products. If you remember any of those, do go ahead and comment, um leaving your ideas, so that way maybe we can do a part 2. But let's go on to the hygiene tip. So this is going to be probably slightly controversial, because there are people out there that tell you to wash thyself. So here's the thing: there is washing and douching. Let me explain to you guys the difference. You should not wash your vagina and your inner labia. Okay? So we have the outer labia and the inner labia. You should not wash your inner labia and your vagina. The reason for it is because we have microorganisms and bacteria that works in those areas to self clean themselves. And if you use certain washes, or have the tendency to go ahead and use certain washes and even the wrong wash, you can actually create a dysbiosis in the in those areas, causing yourself to actually get all kinds of infections, yeast infections, urinary tract infections, from over cleaning and removing the good bacteria present in that area that basically make your vagina self cleaning. Besides that, you can indeed wash the outer parts. Okay, you can wash all around the area of your groin, with a proper intimacy wash. I'll be very honest, I use pretty much just water, and then at most in the bikini area and areas slightly around the same zone, I will use a soap. But anything too close, I won't do it. I'm very prone to getting some sort of infections. I'm a little bit more sensitive than most. So I try to keep the soap to a bare minimum, only when highly necessary. Besides that, here's a little caveat. A lot of people say that it stinks. Blood smells like blood, and blood will smell metallic because of iron in the blood, because your blood is composed of quite a large percentage of iron. So it's going to smell metallic-y. It shouldn't particularly smell bad. If it smells bad, there's something clearly wrong, and you should get that checked. And I think the main issue here is people aren't fully aware of what natural body odor is supposed to be because we have been told by certain people that we are supposed to smell like roses down there. That ain't true. That is very wrong. We are not supposed to smell like roses. No one will ever smell good. No one will ever smell fruity or sweet or florally or whatever. You are going to smell like a natural, typical smell. And I'm not saying that you cannot smell better. Of course, you can. For example, a lot of people describe when they're with some sort of infection, they normally have to, like, they have like a fishy smell or a very sour smell. A slight sour or tangy smell is very normal. Sometimes some people even say that they have almost like a slight yeasty smell. Yeasty, there's a caveat because you could have a yeast infection, which is why it could smell yeasty. Most people tend to smell either tangy or sour like. Some people may smell slightly sweet, but that could also be a possibility of diabetes. At least there has been studies that has shown the possibility of your fluids smelling sweet being a sign of some sort of insulin response, aka some sort of like diabetic response. But be aware that that hasn't been fully looked at. But still, if you find that your privates smell differently than what they normally do, you're either doing something wrong or doing something right. If there was a wrong and now it smells better, you're probably doing something right. If you were doing something and then it smelled wrong, it's probably because you're doing something wrong or something is wrong. Okay. And when I mean wrong, I mean health. Okay. Don't think that your privates are bad. Don't think that you need to be perfect because you don't have to. Okay? You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be healthy. So let's talk about the emotional. Here's the thing. And I left this part for last. For those that really needed to hear it, they could hear it at the end. And those that feel fine during this time, they could just skip it. You are not broken. You are not less than. You are not awful just because you may feel emotional or disconnected or see your period, the time where you bleed, as something negative. Because there's definitely connotations of negative for different reasons. If you have issues associating with it, like endometriosis or PCOS, where you have horrible pain, horrible cramps, you might not have your period very often, you associate it with infertility. Um, of course, it's going to be very hard. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say that, oh, it's all going to pass. No, I know it's difficult. I know it's difficult because I have people around me that have all kinds of medical issues. Even I have medical issues that I know that if I choose to be a mother someday, I'll have to be worried about it. So I'm not going to sugarcoat this. But I do want to make a certain point, which is in society, we have created a problem, which is this is something that it happens to all women, all people that have vaginas and uteruses. We all end up having this moment in our lives where we bleed every 26 to 28 days for 5 to 7 days. And for some reason, in our societies, we are seen as less than, we are seen as disgusting, We are seen as mean. We are seen as emotional. We're seen as all kinds of things. And this needs to stop. And it starts, to be honest, in between the women. It starts with us making the point that this is not disgusting. This happens to us every month. So you're telling me that every month you wake up, you realize that you're bleeding, and you're just making yourself feel worse by saying how awful this is or how much you hate it. You know what kind of self image you do to yourself during this time? Have you asked yourself if it's truly that disgusting? An interesting exercise that I need to shout out this person, which is Mia Magic. And I don't know if Mia is ever going to hear this, but she is someone that is very inspiring to me because she lost so many people of her followers because of what she did. She picked up her period blood and she rubbed it on her face to show that there's nothing that can particularly harm you by touching it. It comes out between your legs. It comes out from your womb. And I know that and the point of this podcast was also to talk about magic and manifestation and all that. And to be honest, this fits into this. We as beings with wombs have made these waters, these rivers that come out of us for these few days, we have turned them into this evil thing. When if we were to focus instead on the fact that the reason why this is happening is because we didn't give life. And at the same time, it's the same ones that give the life. And I know that this can turn sour for some people, especially those that are probably, and I'm very sorry if I am doing this, feeling triggered because they wish to have their own children. But you should see this as a positive, even if you want children or even if you don't, even if you're experiencing, you should see this as a positive because guess what? When you overwork out yourself, if you undereat, if you overeat, if you don't work out, if you do any extreme situation, you can make yourself lose your period. And I'm talking about healthy people that became unhealthy. I'm not talking about health issues right now. If you go on a crash diet and you overexert yourself, you could lose your period and you could ask a lot of people about it. If you gain weight and you become sedentary, you could lose your period as well because your body is so overweight it cannot even think about making you procreate. Because that's the whole point. That's the whole point. Your period believes, your menstrual cycle is basically your body every single month preparing you for a possible pregnancy. That's all there's doing. And we have created this pressure on all kinds of scenarios and all kinds of things. We have created the image of being disgusting. We have created the image that it's impure. We have created the image that it's good if you don't have it because you don't need to deal with it. We have created also the image of the other side, which is if you don't have it, you can't have children. If it shows up and you're trying to get pregnant, it's seen as a negative because, damn it, I didn't got pregnant this month. Why are we giving it power over our minds? Why do we have societies broken over something that is supposed to give life? And I know this is controversial. The whole point of my podcast is to have difficult conversations at times. And to be honest, today I chose the war that it is this topic because I want people to understand that, like, we can just be in this moment. We can just exist in this moment. Have you ever thought about, let me go through my menstrual cycle not giving a damn? Not giving a damn. I'm just going to okay, I bled through my undies. Okay, let me just take out my undies, take a shower, pop it in. Not even have a reaction. Basically, do not react. If you choose to not react, if you choose to just let it be, isn't it going to be easier than you saying, God damn it, I bled through my undies again? God damn it, I dirtied my undies again. I'm actually talking to you guys right now, and I know that I have bled through my dress into my chair because my sister told me so. Do you really think that I care? Nope. You wanna know why? Because it can be washed. Think about that. You are freaking out over something that can be washed. Why? Why? I'm literally asking you, like, why do we see it as a negative? If we know that as people, we enter our womanhood with our menstrual cycle and we exit our fertile period, the period where we could possibly conceive with, menopause. So you're telling me that I'm going to hate the 30 to 40 or more years of my life just because every single month I bleed? I'm going to let other people shun me and treat me badly just because I bleed? No. Don't let yourself fucking do that. Don't let it. Like, do you even know what happens when you go from bleeding to having your menopause? Your blood stops going, you just stop bleeding, and then you get hot flashes, cold sweats, you feel hot, you feel cold, you gain weight, you start having health issues like cardiovascular issues, diabetes, you become hypertensive. So you get so many health issues increased, like increased chances of those risks as soon as you stop bleeding. So why shouldn't you just appreciate it? And this is not coming to take a point or take a finger to anyone in particular, because I know what it's like to be hearing this and thinking, yeah, but you don't have PCOS. Yeah, but you don't have fertility issues. Yeah, you don't have endometriosis. I know. I know. I know I don't. And to you, I'm so sorry that you have to go through that. And if I could wave a wand and tell you that all of your problems will be fixed, believe me that I would. I'm sure a lot of doctors would do so if they could. I know you yourself would. I'm talking to those that are healthy and they're treating that themselves like crap because of it. They're letting the men in their lives make them feel dirty because your man will not go down on you even if you feel like having sex. I'm talking to the women that are shunned in their societies because they're seen as impure during that time and they can't even go in the kitchen to cook. That they have to sleep outside in certain tribal communities. There's stories of women freezing to death because they're not allowed to turn on heaters in the cabins in the middle of nowhere because they need to stay there to bleed. That's who I'm talking to. No, I'm talking to the healthy women in the modern society that make themselves feel like crap just because of this. If you just take a moment, instead of downgrading yourself, to listen to your own body and appreciate it, believe me, you will see a change. You will see a change. And not an immediate change. It's not going to be the first time. It's not going to be the second, not even the fifth or the 10th time that you do it. But after a while, you will see a change because I saw a change. When I started to listen to my body and I started to be aware of my cycle and I started to understand my cycle, believe it or not, my pain that I had horrible cramps. I barely have them anymore because I started to realize what was good for me. And what was good, I kept doing it. What was bad, I stopped. If there's only one thing you take out of this is love yourself throughout anything. Throughout your period, throughout your bad moments, your good moments, just fucking love yourself. Because if you don't love yourself, who the fuck is gonna love you? Who the heck is going to love you if you don't love yourself? And even through this moment that may feel embarrassing, that may feel annoying, that may feel um, like you're questioning yourself, why the heck should I have this? Well, you do. And it's so beautiful that you do. And it's so healthy that you do. Because some people don't have that chance. Some people don't have that pleasure. So appreciate it while you have it. And be healthy doing it. And love yourself during it. Throughout all the moments in your cycle. And as I said, and I'll repeat again, if you guys want to learn more about your cycle, I really recommend The Period Power by Maisie Hill. It's a great read and it will teach you a lot about how your body functions. Far more than any school can teach you. Don't forget to follow That Girl Magic to stay updated on new episodes. Let's unleash our inner magic and create the life of our dreams. I'll see you in the next episode.